Have you ever wished you could become unshakable, the kind of person who doesn't flinch at criticism, rejection, loss, or betrayal? Someone who moves through life with a quiet strength, untouchable, immune to the opinions and wounds inflicted by others. Maybe you've dreamed of the day when that silent pain inside you, the one you carry behind your smiles, finally disappears. Maybe you're exhausted, tired of pretending, tired of trying to please everyone. Tired of wearing that invisible armor every day, pretending to be strong when all you want is to rest. Just for a moment, to take off the mask, to breathe, to be human. But let me tell you something that most people don't have the courage to say. As long as you keep trying to escape pain, it will continue to control you. As long as you hide, numb, suppress, or deny, pain will have power over your life. It will decide how you react, how you think, how you see yourself in the world. You'll remain at the mercy of other people's words, actions, betrayals, and even their silence. This isn't weakness. This is what it means to be human. The difference between people isn't who hurts and who doesn't. It's who admits it and who hides it better. Carl Jung, one of the most influential voices in depth psychology, said something powerful. We are not what happens to us. We are what we choose to become. That's the key. It's not about becoming cold. It's not about being untouchable. It's about becoming whole. You don't need to shut the world out. You need to bring your shadows into the light, because true strength is not found in the absence of pain, but in the awareness of who you are, even when you are bleeding. And if you're still here, still listening, I know this message is for you. It's for the one who always feels like they're losing the emotional battle, the one who walks around with invisible wounds, the one who wonders why it seems like others have power over their emotions. But hear this, it doesn't have to stay this way. This video is for you. I want to walk you through a deeper truth, one that may sting at first, one that might feel uncomfortable, but it's the kind of truth that sets you free. Let's begin here. You believe your pain comes from the outside, what someone said, what someone did, how they left you, betrayed you, ignored you. But the brutal truth is this, those things can only hurt you if there's already an open wound inside. It's not the action that breaks you, it's what it awakens in you. Your pain is often a reflection of an internal story, one you may not even realize you're telling yourself. A story rooted in old wounds, unresolved trauma, and a desperate need to prove you're okay. Strong, in control. But Jung showed us something vital. The pain we feel from the outside world mirrors what we have not yet integrated on the inside. This is why some people can face devastating losses and still remain clear, grounded, anchored, while others can fall apart from a single word. It's not what happens, it's where it lands. And here comes one of the hardest truths: you still suffer so deeply because on some level you're trying to control how the world treats you. You're still trying to be good enough, kind enough, strong enough, believing that if you just do it all right, people won't hurt you. That if you become enough, rejection won't come, disappointment won't sting, you'll finally feel safe. But control is a lie. The more you chase it, the more anxious you become. You'll live in tension, trying to predict every move, manage every reaction, avoid every possible outcome. If you want to stop suffering, you have to stop protecting yourself from suffering. You don't need more control, you need more awareness. As long as you believe that people must change for you to feel peace, you'll remain a prisoner of their actions. Freedom begins the moment you understand nothing external can truly harm you unless it resonates with something already alive inside you. This is the true battlefield, the unconscious. What you don't see, what you don't understand, what you haven't healed will continue to control your life. And that's what we'll dive into next. Because transformation doesn't begin at the surface, it begins in the shadows. If this message is resonating with you, take a second to subscribe. Support the channel. You're not just watching a video, you're starting a journey. Now here's the biggest lie you've been told: that you are in control of your life. Wake up, because you're not. Not as long as you're living on autopilot. Not as long as you're reacting without knowing why. Not as long as you're making decisions that you later sabotage. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And that is what's happening to you. The pain you feel, the anger that explodes out of nowhere, the sadness that invades without warning. It's not random, it's not weakness. These are messages. They're coming from forgotten parts of you, from the fears, the memories, the traumas you've buried but never healed. Jung called this dark territory the unconscious. And it's not just a vague cloud of thoughts. It's a living force inside you, a system of repressed stories, emotions, and beliefs that still shape how you feel, how you think, and how you respond. You wonder why a single word can ruin your day while others brush it off. Why you crumble under small criticism while others stay calm. It's because that word touches a wound in you that's still alive. And if it's still alive, it means you've never faced it. You've only hidden it. But here's the good news: what's been hidden can be healed. And the moment you bring those shadows into the light, everything begins to change. So are you ready to go one level deeper? Because that's where transformation begins. And we'll start right now. So are you ready to go one level deeper? Because that's where transformation begins. And we'll start right now. Carl Jung once said, "We cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses." And that's exactly what many of us have been doing for far too long, judging ourselves, repressing our feelings, or silencing our truth, as if that would somehow make it all go away. But it doesn't. The unconscious doesn't disappear just because we choose to ignore it. It doesn't lose power when we try to push it away. It simply finds darker, more destructive ways to express itself. It resurfaces in the toxic relationships we keep repeating, in the self-sabotage we can't seem to escape, in the sudden waves of anxiety or fear that hit us just when life seems to be going well. This isn't bad luck. It's not random. It's your unconscious trying to wake you up. But most of us just roll over and go back to sleep. If you want to become someone who is no longer wounded by every word or broken by every disappointment, then you need to stop running from what's inside you. Because until you know you're unconscious, you will continue to be its puppet. The more you try to protect yourself from outside pain, the more vulnerable you become to the pain already inside you. But there is a way out, and it doesn't come from putting up stronger defenses. It comes from integration. Because becoming untouchable isn't about building armor. It's about gaining deep self-awareness. It's not resistance, it's understanding. Let's explore what that really means. Most people believe the only way to avoid pain is to shut down emotionally. They build walls, wear masks, pretend they don't care. They say, "I'm fine." They convince themselves nothing affects me. But inside, they're bleeding. Inside, they're corroding, because the real issue isn't the pain. The issue is not knowing what you're feeling or why. And that happens when you haven't yet made peace with yourself. Jung said, "You may know all the theories, master all the techniques, but when you touch a human soul, be just another human soul." And that includes your own. That human soul within you, the one you've been hiding behind, strength, perfection, and composure, is crying out to be seen. Emotional strength isn't about being cold. It's not about ignoring pain, avoiding conflict, or acting like you don't care. It's about integration. It's about honesty. It's about dragging your shadows into the light. You don't become untouchable by shutting the world out. You become untouchable when you realize that no one can touch what you have already embraced within yourself. When you integrate your fears, your flaws, your insecurities, your past, you stop reacting. You stop flinching at every emotional hit. You observe. You understand. You respond. You are no longer a puppet. You become a conscious creator. That is true freedom. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming who you really are. Not who people expect you to be, not who you thought you had to be in order to be loved, but the whole honest, authentic you. Individuation isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming whole. And here's a truth few will tell you. The more you run from pain, the more it chases you. The more you try to be unaffected, the more fragile you become. But when you face your wounds, when you truly accept yourself, shadows and all nothing outside you can dismantle you. But make no mistake, this path requires courage. The courage to look inward. The courage to let go of the masks. The courage to feel. Because the key to transformation is hidden inside the very pain you were taught to fear. Let's go deeper. From childhood, you were taught that suffering is weakness. That crying is useless. That feeling too much makes you vulnerable. So you ran, you avoided, you denied. But the more you flee, the more suffering pursues you. And the worst part, it changes shape. It shows up as anxiety, as anger, as boredom, as self-destruction. You don't even know where it's coming from anymore, because ignored pain doesn't vanish. It just digs tunnels inside you until one day, without warning, everything collapses. Jung saw pain differently. To him, suffering was the soul's messenger. It was the voice of the unconscious, the language of your deepest self trying to get your attention. He once said, "Depression is like a woman in black. If she appears, don't shoo her away. Invite her in, offer her a seat, and listen to what she has to say." But what do? We silence ourselves. We distract ourselves. We numb ourselves. We do everything except listen, and yet that pain is here for a reason. What is it trying to show you? The truth is, suffering only hurts so much because you are still at war with yourself. There is a part of you that wants to evolve and another that wants to stay safe. There is something in you that craves change and something else afraid to let go. It's this internal tension that creates pain, because change hurts, growth hurts. Letting go of old beliefs, toxic ties, destructive patterns, it all feels like mourning. But it is in this very place of ruin that rebirth happens. When everything you believed about yourself is stripped away, when certainty crumbles, when pain lays you bare, only then can you finally see who you really are. Not the mask, not the performance, but the real you. And that's when suffering becomes sacred, because it brings you face to face with the one thing that can set you free: yourself. Jung knew this. He understood that suffering is not failure. It is part of the process. Pain is not the end of the path. It is the beginning of your real journey. The only tragedy is when people give up halfway, when they run before the light comes. But not you, not this time. Stay with it. Stay with yourself. Because what's on the other side of this pain is something no one can take away from you. Real peace, real strength, real wholeness. And we're just getting started. If you've made it this far, it's because you're ready. Ready to stop turning back. Ready to cross the threshold. Because the path to individuation, while difficult, lonely, and often brutal, is the very road that leads to your freedom. Let's keep going. This is where it gets deeper. Few people have the courage to begin the journey of individuation. Even fewer have the strength to finish it. Because this path doesn't offer comfort. It doesn't promise rewards. And it certainly does not protect your ego. It destroys it. Carl Jung described individuation as the process of becoming who you truly are. But to do that, you must unlearn who you thought you were. And that unlearning, it hurts more than any rejection the world could throw at you. You begin to see that much of what defined you, your successes, your image, your pain, wasn't really you. It was a survival strategy, a carefully constructed shell, a performance meant to gain love, respect, admiration. But surviving is not the same as living. And individuation is life's call to something more, something beyond survival. It begins when the unconscious starts to push everything you've repressed to the surface. Everything hidden, distorted, forgotten, buried. It demands to be seen. Jung spoke of the persona, the mask we wear for the world. He said it must be dismantled, because it is only a mask of collective convenience. To find the real you, you must be willing to tear away what you once thought was your skin. And in that painful, raw process, something incredible happens. You become untouchable. Not because life doesn't hurt anymore, but because you have already walked through the fire. You have faced your monsters. You have looked into the mirror of your shame, your insecurity, your anger, and said, "I see you. You no longer control me." That kind of clarity is rare. That kind of strength doesn't need applause. It doesn't need validation. You stop needing to be loved by everyone. You stop needing to win every argument. You stop needing to appear strong, because you are strong, not from a shell, but from a core. True emotional armor isn't cold or heavy. It's quiet, internal. It's the integration of all your parts into a center of consciousness that stays grounded even in the middle of a storm. You still feel pain, but it doesn't break you. You may be hurt, but you don't lose yourself, because you are no longer reactive. You are whole. You've stopped living on the surface. You now live from the depths. But make no mistake, this depth comes with a price: loneliness. Not because you'll be alone, but because few will be able to walk this road with you. Most are still stuck on the surface, trapped behind their own masks, paralyzed by their fear of feeling. When you begin to free yourself, you will naturally drift from those who are still pretending. And that distance isn't arrogance, it's maturity. You don't leave because you think you're better. You leave because you no longer fit where you used to hide. And that brings us to the final truth in this journey. Consciousness is your shield. It is not strength that protects you. It is clarity. Let's finish this crossing together. Because now that you've made it this far, you need to hear this. Nothing, absolutely nothing will protect you from suffering if you remain unconscious to what lives inside you. The words will still sting. The rejections will still break you. The losses will still bury you until you awaken. An awakening is not a magical event. It is a daily choice. It's looking inward even when it hurts. It's taking responsibility for your feelings without blaming others, the past, or fate. Jung said, "What you resist persists. What you accept transforms." You've spent your life resisting the fear of not being enough, the emptiness of rejection, the pain of loneliness, the hunger to be seen. So what did you do? You hid. You silenced yourself. You tried to control everything. You chased perfection. You tried to be strong. And now you're exhausted, tired of fighting the world, tired of fighting yourself. But here's the truth. True emotional immunity doesn't come from armor. It comes from awareness. Because when you understand your triggers, your wounds, your patterns, the actions of others lose their power to destroy you. You still feel, but you don't drown. You still hurt, but you don't lose yourself. That changes everything. What shields you is not avoiding life. It's diving fully into it. Those who live on the surface are tossed by every wave. But those who go deep, they find silence. They find stability. They find unshakable power. And that is where you're headed. When you begin to live from this place of presence, of integration of truth, the world may still try to shake you, but it won't know where to hit you because there's nothing left to attack. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, if something has awakened, leave a comment and write, "I choose awareness." Let's create a movement, a community of people who no longer want to survive behind fake strength, but who are ready to live with honesty.